This video demonstration is for kittens who are not showing fear towards humans or handling. So if you are dealing with timid kittens, you're going to want to refer to our timid kitten socialization video. When we are socializing kittens, we want to get them used to mock exams because we know every adult cat is going to deal with those stressful vet exams. So we can start the process by putting them in a carrier to really make it more authentic, bring them up onto a raised surface, give them a chance to explore out on their own, do a little bit of sniffing before the handling starts. And we want to make sure we're paying attention to body language. So here I'm handling the ears, and you notice that she does back away from my hands. I handle the front paws, and there is again some fussing and some trying to get away. Pull the tail up, and she pulls it back down. I do a little skin tent as a mock vaccine, and then I let her walk away, and she heads over to the carrier before finally accepting a bit of churu. So I want to slow that down so you can see what was going on. So tail is high, that's a positive sign. But then once the handling starts, you can see the ears go a little bit back. She ducks her head a bit, showing that she's not fully comfortable. And then she very obviously backs away from my hands there before I proceed to do brief handling of both front paws. She's fussing a bit, trying to get away, and so I don't bother handling the back paws. When I lift the tail in preparation for a temperature taking, she tucks the tail right down, and then a brief skin tint before she walks away. So ideally, we want to be paying attention to these signs of body language so that we can see when we're maybe pushing them a little bit too far past their comfort level so that we can back things up and slow it down and make it more likely that this is going to be a comfortable and positive experience for them rather than a potentially negative experience. And if you have trouble paying attention to those close details, go ahead and set up your phone and record yourself doing a mock exam. And then when you watch it back, you're going to be more likely to see things that you might have missed in the moment. I always like to end with a bit of tube treat or any kind of treat so that they can have, that ice cream snack after a dentist appointment. That positive association. One thing that's helpful too to prepare them for potential manual pilling in the future is holding them as if they're going to be pilled and then putting a little bit of churu in their mouth or tube treat. And even after I did that, I still give a little bit of that tube treat so that she can have that positive experience. If your kitten is a bit finicky for the handling, what you can do is get them more comfortable and used to being handled while they're eating. So here I'm petting while eating, and I go to pick up the paw. You see she stops eating and she kind of pulls her paw away from my hand. Those are two signs that she's not super thrilled about what's happening, not totally comfortable. So I recognize that and I want to ease up and I want to take breaks from handling the paw. So notice I do a couple of gentle touches and then I go back to petting where I know she's more likely to be comfortable. And then I try again, just gently lift the paw and just kind of give her a moment to see if she sets her paw in my hand. Do a couple of gentle touches. I'm paying attention to if she's stopping eating, which tells me that I'm pushing too far and I need to back off. I take another break. We go for some petting. I do a little skin tent like that mock vaccine. And then when I go to handle the ears, I notice she stopped eating, so I went back to just petting. Watching that body language constantly is how you're going to know, do I push forward? Is everything going well? Or do I need to back up and slow things down for the sake of it being positive for the kitten? Petting them while they're eating is great so that when you are handling them while they're eating, they don't get suspicious. Obviously, this little guy is drinking water, but I just did this as a demo, and you saw that I did a little skin tent for a mock vaccine. I'm doing a little bit of brief paw touching, And I don't need to necessarily pick the whole paw up. Just the starting stages, the early stages, might simply involve just petting down their leg or petting their paw and just getting them used to that touch. We want to get them used to being picked up, and it can be helpful to start doing that while you're sitting on the ground rather than picking them all the way up to a standing position, which might be a little bit more scary for them. And it's great to keep it brief and put them down before they fuss. Every kitten is going to be different. Some enjoy the snuggles and want to be up in your arms longer, and some don't. And keep in mind, too, that the more active they are in the moment, the harder it's going to be for them to be calm when you're trying to do handling. So, getting them when they're already calmer is probably going to set you up for better success. Getting them used to being picked up and carried while you walk, placing them on a surface like I've done on our mock exam table here is also good to get them used to. I try to be slow when I move them as opposed to just abruptly picking them up off the ground and standing right up quickly, because that can just be a little bit overwhelming, I think, for kittens if they're early in the process, especially. So just going to emphasize again, trying to pay attention to that body language so that if they are starting to fuss, you're putting them down, and the next time trying to catch them before they fuss so that you can put them down before the fussing. Sometimes I find that a neck, shoulder, head rub can help kittens progress to relaxing on their back while in your arms, in your hands. But again, pay attention to that body language and make sure we're not forcing it, and make sure that we're letting them down if they're fussing, or better yet, before they're fussing, because we don't want them to ever feel like they're trapped in a social situation. Household adventures. So you'll notice that I grabbed the carrier um, and brought it out, but I do have another carrier that's in the room out at all times that they can explore and climb on and sometimes sleep in, which they sometimes do. But this particular carrier is just bigger, and that's why I got it out. You notice I set it down, I opened it up, and I just want to give everybody a chance to explore it. You can also put treats in the carrier to encourage everybody in, but doesn't hurt to just give them a moment and let them explore it, sniff around, maybe enter on their own as they're so wonderfully demonstrating right now, before we just automatically put them in. And if the carrier is out in the room 24/7, it's going to be really familiar to them. It's going to have their scent in it, so that can often help. For the household adventures, I like to think of every room in the home as a new space that they can explore. And the more that they explore new spaces and gain confidence in new spaces, the more confident they're going to be going to new places, like back to the shelter, like to their new adopter's home, and like to the vet clinic when they have to go for a vet exam. So this is good for carrier practice and good for building confidence and exploring new spaces. Okay, so we're going to get all the little buttons in the carrier, and then we're going to close it up, and we're just going to take them to a different room in the house. That is all we're doing. You can also, once they are comfortable in the carrier, you can put them in the carrier and take them for a drive around the block, or take them to the Tim Hortons drive-through and get a treat for yourself. Don't get a treat for the kittens. I don't think there's anything there that they would want, but just little things to help them get used to it. When they're in their new space, let them come out and explore at their own pace. And again, every kitten's going to be different. Some are going to be rushing out to explore. Some might be hanging back and taking their time. Just let them do it at their pace. Some things to consider: having the room quiet, quieter than it might be. So turning off the TV, for example, or at least having it on low, and trying to avoid too much commotion. And then after they've been in the room and explored the room once, and you have them in there a couple more times, then, and you're seeing confidence build, then you can start to add commotion or TV noise or other noises, but start slow and build it up so that they can build their confidence without being too overwhelmed at the beginning. And one thing to watch for to know if their confidence is building is if they're walking around with their tails up, if they're playing with each other. And if you do make a little noise, like I'll just do a little or with my mouth. And if anybody startles in response to that noise, that tells me that they're still a bit on edge. So that can be something you can do as a little tester to know where they're at in their progress, and if you need to come back to the same room a few more times, or if you can go on to a new room. But you want them to build up confidence in one room before you start taking them to a new room. Go there a few times, build up confidence, and then again, go to another room. Make sure to block off areas you don't want them to go and cover up things you don't want them to play with, like cords, for example. And remember, kittens are agile and they are crafty, so they will get into things, so you got to make sure you're thorough.